Well, if you are a coach who is wondering about growing your coaching business and having fun while you do it, this episode is for you. I want to introduce you to one of our clients, somebody who's a lot of fun to be around with and who also has a thriving coaching business. I want you to meet Dr. Cheryl. Dr. Cheryl, how would you like us to call you? Actually, would you like it to be Dr. Cheryl Jackson Williams?
Oh no, just Dr. Cheryl. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, tell us about you. Tell us about how you ended up here, what your journey to coaching has been, and just everything we need to know about
Oh
you.
goodness. I always joke and I say that I started my coaching business with a librarian and a computer. And that was it because at that time when computers first came out, now I'm dating myself, the internet wasn't that big about giving information around coaching. And I pretty much started by going to the library and just trying to find out how to start a business. And from there, I started doing things like offering parenting conference because my background is child development, but also every degree I have is in psychology. But my focus has been on children and families. And as I've been going through and I started my business, I just decided that I can expand it even further. I didn't know anything at the time about mindset. I didn't know what coaching was, all of these things. So over the years, I've just been educating myself on it. I've spent 30 years teaching. Never planned on becoming a teacher. I was going to become a child psychologist and still became a therapist, but decided that teaching was where I loved. It was just something about it that brought me joy. 30 years of teaching psychology, human services, and children. I then became oh goodness, I have to try to remember the name, but anyway, it's where I figured out how to bring all of them together. And now they live in my coaching business.
So, how long ago were you thinking that I want to create a side hustle? Because I do know that you just recently retired from
Yeah.
career. So, how long ago was it that you're like, I'm going to have a business of some kind? What was the thought process around that?
I have to say, when I was finishing my bachelor degree, I remember writing in my journal that one day I'm going to educate. One day I'm going to be a therapist. I never really figured at that time. And when the opportunity came up, something came across my desk with the word coaching. So I'm looking at it thinking, oh, softball, volleyball. And I said, well, I don't want to do any of that. And then I saw the word life in front of it, life coach. And I went, let me check this out. I have no idea who it was that first introduced me to it, but it was just a flyer, a paper flyer that had it on there. And then I started exploring it and decided then with all the knowledge I had already learned, how can I turn that into something to help other people? And that was as far as I got. And then I got into providing therapy and working at a women's crisis center. And I realized I don't want to just focus on the intervention. I want to try to be there before, the prevention. How can I help people to gain these skills? And slowly I've started learning that's a part of life coaching. And I can name it, it can be where I focus on a certain area. But we're talking about, oh my gosh, way back in the 90s, of it coming, that flyer coming across my desk and me figuring out how do I turn this into something that may not have to live in someone's clinic, where I'm able to put it out there to the world.
Wow, that's so amazing. I didn't know that part of the story, but when did you actually like officially say,
Oh,
all right, I'm going to be in business? Now you had this idea
oh.
brewing. When did it start? I'm going to be in business.
Oh, literally not even a year after that flyer came across. I want to say maybe 6 months later. So we're talking 1996 probably. And from there, the way that I started was I didn't want to wait until I build out the business. Since I learned, in California, the way that we're able to create our businesses, if I can use my name, I can just start doing the job. So I just started offering parenting coaching at that point. And from there, it just has expanded where I got more like training and things like that. I'm constantly thinking of what else can I do? They call us a multi-potentialite. And so you can look it up. I forget her name who first introduced me to that, but I began to take all of these things and became a multi-potential, which is figure out how to bring them together because somehow in your mind you figured that out. And so now get it down on paper. And so I just started writing it down on paper 6 months afterward. And to the point that my daughters were always asking, Mom, what are you doing? You know? And I put a flyer out and people came to the training. And next thing I know, I'm doing trainings all over the United States on other topics. But in the 90s, when I noticed that I became the go-to person, and especially for one organization, I went, I think I might have something here. And yeah, and it just kept going. I can't believe when I think back, I can't believe I did. That's how I started.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's crazy because today, even somebody who's listening to this episode might be saying, like, I don't know about this coaching thing. Like, not
Mm,
everybody understands it, not everybody knows it. And I'm always saying that too. Our job is to really help people understand
mhm.
coaching and what it
Yeah.
is and the value of it. And here you're talking about in the 90s, and
Yeah.
here we are
Yeah.
3 decades later, you were having to explain to people, I'm sure, what a coach actually
Yeah.
was and what
Yeah.
that looked like. Wow, you're an innovator, girl.
I think, and one of the things I used to say is, I walk alongside you. That was what I used to say back then. And when they would ask, what is a coach? Because I still was learning what it was. And that's when I found, what is it, ICF, I think it was. And I started reading all of theirs, their ethical codes and all of that. And at the time, I didn't know anything other than that about it, but I just continued to build. And I happened to meet one person that was in my graduate program, and she said she wanted to be a coach. And I went, oh, I want to be one too. How do you define it? And then I found out we were defining it in the same way, which was we wanted to walk along with people and help them to see what if they have in their minds that they want to do something with their life, what's stopping you? And they literally just needed someone at that moment to say, what's stopping you? And then someone to help them to build the path. And so she and I, this other individual, we started actually putting together what that would look like. We would meet. Zoom wasn't around at the time.
Ah,
So we literally would meet up in our graduate program. We would meet once a semester in Santa Barbara. Oh, wow. How fun would that be? And so we would meet there and we would sit down and literally map out what our coaching program was going to look like. And at the time, we wasn't even calling it coaching. We was calling it our course. But what I realize now, it actually was coaching because even though we had a course there, we also had weekly meetings with individuals because at the time I didn't know about group coaching. At the time, I only knew about individual. And so we would map it out and then we would check in with each other on the phone and say, yeah, it's working. And then I met another friend who was in my program and we did the same thing where we mapped out something and we started offering together trainings together and then realized again, we're doing coaching.
that is so fun. And the marketing, my brain thinks in marketing. We're going to talk about marketing
Yes.
here and what you're doing in your own business. But, because I have been in business so long as well, the piece that so many coaches today are missing is the part where you're just talking to people. And I always say, and you understand this more than anyone, is like business doesn't have to be hard. We can get tangled up with technology, but you don't
Yeah.
actually need any of it. Like you
Yeah.
said, you got a flyer, and my mind is going to like, okay, so if you were meeting people and you had clients, that means literally like you were networking and people
Yeah.
knew who
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were, and you were like telling people and like on the phone talking to them about what you could do. And
Yeah.
that's like old school. But in reality, what I always tell coaches is that is the fastest path to a
Yeah.
client. And we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having that real meeting somebody or getting a
Right.
referral or something. So that's how you did that.
Yeah, and how I started, I would never ever think of changing because it really got me to the place where I ended up really, I'm going to use the word need because now I feel it. I needed what you know about marketing because I literally never had to market. What I was doing at that time was giving presentations at conferences. I would offer like one training to an organization, and then from there, I would give them, at the time, it was still a sheet of paper that said, here's what I can offer in my 6 week program or my 8 week program. Never had to really market, but yet I would have business that was going on because I didn't know what the difference between sales and marketing, none of that. I understood. I just knew how to sit and talk with people and got clients. But then when I came to you, I was finding that I needed to introduce something new. And that new is that the technology that we have, how can I use the technology to do this? Because the world changes. And for me,
Yeah.
that was the change. And I always joke and say that I came to you for mindset and marketing because I
Yeah.
needed the mindset because I never had that. I believed in myself getting therapy when I needed it, but I needed someone that I can bounce off. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. Here's what I'm doing right now. Do you see how I can do this a different way? But I needed, that's what I figured out I needed. And I now say I'll never be without a coach anymore.
Yeah, it's always what I say too. If you're a coach, you really need a coach,
Yeah.
and you need that person. We talked about your husband a moment ago, and while he's amazing, and my husband is too, they don't get what you're
Yeah.
trying to do or
No.
really understanding. You can explain all that you want to,
Yeah.
but they're not really in it the same way that
Right. And just so you know, I love my husband how he thinks about my business though. Just this morning, he woke up and I'm thinking, oh, I love that he's thinking about it. He was saying, I thought about when you do your guidebooks, at the end of it, you can add this and you can do this and that, and then that will lead to this. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful that he's thinking about it. I'm not even going to tell him. Debbie already told me that.
oh
He'll
my
probably
goodness.
hear it now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, the
Yeah.
fantastic to have a number one fan who is on your team, that's for sure. So, how many years were you actually making money in your business before you and I connected? And I know just a little short part of that is you said you'd been like reading my emails for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years or something. But
3.
how long before you and I started working together were you successfully making money without ever having gotten any help?
Yeah, pretty much. I started reaching out and I call it my investment years because that's when in the year 2020 was when I actually started investing and where I had my very first coach. Everything else was me just on YouTube listening to individuals, and that was it. I wasn't even listening to podcasts or anything. I don't even know if I knew what a podcast
Yeah.
was. And we're talking 2020. But that was when I started to really invest in coaching was 2020 because I knew I was making a shift because pretty much all of us was going online with our things. But before that, it was really me just providing presentations, but it got to the point where with many organizations, I was making videos for them. And I would walk into places and people would say, I know her, but I can't remember how I know her. I remember walking into one college and I was there to do a series of trainings with and coaching with their staff. And one individual came out of the class and she's helping me and she's, oh my gosh, you're here. And I'm like, I'm thinking she's part of the program. But actually, what she was saying was that I've seen you in videos and it's been training videos that she was seeing me in because of the organizations that I work with as a consultant. I would be one of the ones speaking for them. And there's one organization that I've been with, the very first one that I had, and I always remember 1996. And I'm still with them to this day. But things like work I've done with the state of California, with I travel to different states and I do trainings for them, and individuals end up becoming my clients through that. So I've never had to really advertise. Also, I put a limit because I love my boundaries, a limit on because since I was a full-time tenured faculty, I would only work with 2 organizations a year. I would have little guest speaking things and keynotes here and there, but I was very mindful of my time, which I would not change because it kept my name out there while I had this job as a full-time faculty. And I forgot to tell you, Debbie, I also still work in the clinic. A clinic, I still work there. I decided no longer to provide therapy, but I'm there supporting our future clinical psychologists and our future therapists. So I still do that to this day.
And
Yeah.
how much do you do that every month? Is that one day a month?
Yeah, no, that's once a week
Once a week. Okay.
Yeah, my whole Thursday is blocked off and it's just for the
Yeah.
clinic.
Well, I mean, good for you. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I never encourage anyone to, just ditch their job. In fact, I remember
Right.
when you came to work with me and you were talking about your job and when you were going to leave, I'm like, all right, now let's figure this out. In my mind, I don't want anyone to just walk away
Right.
from a salary and not be ready for retirement, and all that.
Right.
But the great thing about you is when you came to us, you were already making money.
Yeah, I was making my plan, my
Yeah.
exit plan right there. But
Yeah.
none of it I would change about the journey that I was on. And even though I was watching everything that you were doing for the last three, well, now it's 4 years because I've been with you now. Have I been with you for a year
I
now?
think
I
it's a
think
year,
so.
close to a
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to leave until you kick me out.
I'm not kicking you out. No. Yeah.
But for me, I want to say when I started seeing and going into some of your free sessions that you have had and just really walking away learning so much, but it dawned on me at that point, it still wasn't clicking in the beginning that you were talking marketing because what I was hearing was a lot of, oh yeah, the mindset work, but
Mhm.
also the coaching. And it didn't dawn on me until I enrolled in your program right before that. Oh, she focuses on marketing. And that's what I need. So sometimes it's a journey for individuals to get to you, I always say. And that's what I guess what we mean by meeting people where they are. I wasn't there yet, but yet you allowed me to come into a space with you so that you can walk alongside me. And finally, I got there and I'm happy to be here. I think every coach I've had has been wonderful and I've learned something from them. But now I'm here where this is what I need.
Yesterday, I did a training inside of another organization and I had a screenshot of one of our coaching sessions. And for anybody listening, I think it's important to note that we all fit on one screen together, the screen, the Zoom screen. It's myself and Thais sometimes, most of the time, and then just a very small handful of people. Everybody gets the support that they want. In fact, our new client this morning, who's also a former therapist, she asked me, well, how many people are in the call? She'd already paid and joined. And then she said, how many people? And I said, well, let me just show you where the replays are and I'll show you the screens. And like the first call had 5 clients, the second one had 8 clients. She's like, oh my gosh, I was scared that there was going to be so many people I wouldn't get my questions answered. I said, no, oh, no. If there gets to be so many people, I'll just open up another hour. But love to share that you have to have people in all stages. And so our job as marketers is to be remembering that, right? You were on the journey and reading the emails. And when you and I met on our call, and I said, well, what brings you to the call? You said, I've used every free thing I can use. And I'm basically I need more than that. I've done it all.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, interesting. And when you told me how long you'd been reading emails, I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
It's just, again, evidence that you never know where people are in their journey. When you think your marketing isn't working, Cheryl, you are proof that the marketing was working.
Yeah, it was working.
Because when you came, you were ready.
Yeah. And it's about learning to trust the process. And that's one thing actually in working as a therapist I learned was about trusting the process because it's hard for us to do that when we've never seen the results of it. You don't know what the future is going to hold. But for me, I'm pretty much now in that place where I don't take it as serious. I think I don't know how to say this, but in other words, every day, every moment, I'm appreciating it and I'm learning from it. And so I'm not saying in my mind, this is not going to work. What I'm actually saying is, what part of this will work for me or is working for me? And then I just keep going on that journey. And so far, at the age that I'm at now, I feel like it's been working. So I think I'll stick with that. But in the moment is what I'm thinking about what's working right now. And I'll just tell you this week in our coaching session with you, I have this big linear calendar that I use and I've been working on it and there was just something still missing. And I got so excited that I don't know if you saw, I had to post in our Facebook group right away that it was
Thank
like
you.
this light bulb went off for me. And all of a sudden I'm writing Q1, Q2, and you didn't even talk about that, but it popped in my head from what we were talking about. But also, oh my gosh, I now see how I can do my YouTube because before it was spotty. I'll do one on Wednesday, I'll post it. But now I'm able to see how it connects to my Shifting into Peace program and how
Yes.
I can take the parts of that roadmap and those becomes oh my gosh, all of that. I had to sit here after that coaching session and just say, my head is spinning right now. Why is it spinning? Because something just clicked. You need to write this down. So I don't know if you saw, I actually had it here and I pulled it up and I just sat here filling it out. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I know what I'm doing next week. you know?
That is it. That is it, Cheryl. You figured that out. Now, it makes sense because I have said many times, and I repeat things, and no matter where
Yeah.
you are on the journey, it's like it clicks in different ways. And I say to people, like, look, we can make a marketing plan for you for a year in an hour. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, yeah, right. Well, we just made a marketing plan for you in an hour because it's, without going into all the details here and
Yeah.
teaching it all here, yes, you know what you're going to talk about, you know where
Yeah.
you're going to market, and YouTube is part of that.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, okay. Like you said, I love this idea of there's no stress over what am I doing next week. It's like,
Right.
I know what I'm doing next week. And you
Yeah.
can even be today or through the weekend thinking about from an inspired point of view, not from a panic point of view, but an
Hmm.
inspired point of view of, oh, next week I get to talk about this. How do I want to do this? Hey coaches, it's Debbie Shadid here. I've got something very special for you. If you're trying to figure out how to get coaching clients on your own and you're wondering what to post, how to explain what you do, or how to actually sell your coaching, this is for you. I'm inviting you to join me for a live edition of the Fast Track and VIP coaching experiences. This is your chance to stop spinning in indecision and finally take those actions that are needed to build a profitable coaching business. You'll get the answers, the guidance, the support you're looking for, plus real-time feedback on your niche, your offers, and your marketing. Spots are very limited and enrollment closes soon. Let's connect. DebbieShadid.com/schedule to claim your spot and to talk about your options. Let's get you clients faster and easier than you ever imagined.
Right. And I have to tell you one other thing, and I'm writing it down so I don't forget the story I want to tell you because I haven't shared this with you. I did share it with Taid, but when we do the 3 steps at the beginning,
Yeah.
that was powerful. There was one part that the personal branding, I just remember going, I don't know what this part is about, but I'll do it. I don't know what it's about. But then it caught up with me. Now we're talking months later.
Mhm.
The personal branding caught up with me. And the way that it caught up with me was after the summit, I had 2 calls. And then recently, last week, I had another call. 3 of these people said similar things, which was that, oh, I just knew when I got in a room with you, it was going to be calming and peaceful, and it was going to be a lot of great conversation. I just knew I was going to like you. And I'm sitting there going, why are they saying that? And they said something similar. Your emails, when they come, they feel so calming. It's like a hug. Your posts, because I belong to a group on school and I post there for women, and I post there and they always say how calming those are. Your posts are always so calming. And then they come into the Zoom room. I was going to ask you if I can sit a few more minutes in your waiting room on Zoom. And I'm sitting there going, why? And she said, you have the coffee steaming, you have the nice jazz playing when you come to your waiting room on Zoom. And then you open up the camera, and then I see all of this. And I went, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to tell Debbie.
Personal
The
branding is
work.
right. That is right. Cheryl, you talk often about having a porch conversation
Yeah.
because of you growing up in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And that is really what your brand
Yeah.
is. That's what people are describing. You are so approachable and so comfortable. And you're right. There is an evolution of understanding
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
And what people are really saying too, in a not direct way, but like they can trust you
Yeah.
because you are what you are
Yeah.
everywhere. And that's the part that really helps you win. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I'm awakening to it because I do listen when people share information. I don't just say, oh, thank you for sharing. I really do reflect on it. And then I notice the pattern. So there is a pattern there. So how can I keep that going? Well, I teach my clients the same thing. How do you keep going when you find this new thing about you? Too often we start with the problem when actually, and I know even in marketing, we start with giving people the problem.
Yeah.
Once I get into the coaching, though, what I'm doing in coaching, though, is I'm trying to help them to find the hope. And so that hope is
Oh,
in the
yeah.
strength. What are your strengths? And so by working with you, I actually am beginning to recognize my strengths and where they are in this work and everything I've done over the years that I haven't acknowledged yet. And so I didn't start it. I actually created a new gratitude journal. And when I say that, my comfort is creating junk journals. And so I'll make a junk journal. So I now have my own personal branding junk journal where I'm doing the gratitude of what I now understand about myself when it comes to my business and branding, because it's new for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned because I am on this gratitude and sort of journey of expansion. And it's actually something that I'm going to figure out how, and I'm doing it with my boyfriend, Claude, and my husband knows, but it's okay. Me and Claude and my gratitude. And then I have some business stuff built into it, and it's been really powerful. So I think that is
Yeah.
really cool. I have to mention to you, our client, Emily, who is a new client, she was saying to me when she got on the call, this is just to emphasize this personal branding thing. She was saying, actually, it wasn't on the call. After we had the call, I sent out a survey that says, tell us about your experience. And what she said on the survey was, I was so surprised when you came on the camera, and the Debbie that I had been watching on YouTube and that I had been listening to, literally, you looked just like her and you sounded just like her. And there was no difference in how you presented yourself. And she was like, I knew it had to be you. And so I asked her, well, what do you mean? And that's what your people are saying to you, Cheryl. That's what they're saying. It's like there's this connection. And she said, well, I mean, literally, I had calls with people before you. She was looking at coaches. I had calls and it looked like they just not made any attempt at getting ready. And she said, and what I thought was, I'm not even important enough that they have gotten themselves together to show up as an expert and to show up as their best self because I was important to them, which I thought was so interesting. Like they hadn't made the effort to look like they'd gotten prepared for the call that they were going to have with her.
Wow. I always, especially when I come into our coaching sessions, there are days that, what is it? I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I am so sleepy in that moment. So I literally, you'll notice I don't turn my camera on because
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
I'll be in the bed, but you will be, and you and Thais are all set up and ready. And it was like, oh, they got up this morning for me. And so if you notice, now I get up and I'm on
Yeah.
camera
Yeah.
now because I'm like, hey, I'm retired now. So I can do that early morning call. But I've been practicing that with all of my calls where I even sign on at 9, let's just say 9:30. If I'm not on, it's already set up, but I'm sitting at that computer because I started thinking about what would I do if I had to drive to the college? I wouldn't show up at 10 o'clock when, right when it starts.
That's right.
There
Job. I
early. Yeah,
mean,
yeah. And
it's not sexy saying it that way,
yeah,
but this
yeah,
is your job.
yeah. And even though this is mine now, which I'm loving, but I only work in it Monday through Wednesdays, really. Where I show up is on Mondays and Wednesdays. The other days, I may do something in my business, but pretty much I'm trying to learn how to be in my rewirement. If you remember, I was
Yes, I
sharing
love
about
that word.
I'm
I
I'm
love that.
rewiring how I do things for myself, and so I use those days to do that. Yeah, it's all about figuring out what does that look like for you. Even with my clients, when they say, well, it's so busy at work, because I work with helping professionals and women who give so much of themselves that they are not able to find time for themselves. So, literally, part of even my onboarding is helping them to figure out how they are going to fit themselves in their work, in this work that they're doing with me as a coach, because they already know and it's on their calendars, the meetings and the clients they're going to meet with. When are you going to meet for yourself? Let's get that on your calendar. So I literally, because I've been there in this journey, I was, let me see, a home visitor. I was a therapist. I can't remember all the names, but it's been different parts of the helping professional. And so coming from that, I understand why we put everyone else first, and we put the background stuff first too, that the client never sees, which is things like, I got to write in the chart, I got to do your Medi-Cal, I got to do
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And then before you know it, it's 8 o'clock at night and they haven't created any space and time for themselves. And I just remember saying, that hurts my heart that they haven't figured out where do they fit in the day. So I think I had to start with me first to show them how I do that. And so I have this thing where I say, my dean used to know, don't ask Cheryl to work in the summer, to teach in the summer. They will still come and ask, and I'll say, thank you so much for asking and thinking of me. But unfortunately, I can't do that because summer was mine for me to work primarily in my business.
So tell everybody that is in the helping professions, tell people what you do to support people and what it looks like in your coaching business.
Well, I'll just say what I typically do is I will help them to understand certain components that we never learned about taking care of ourselves while we take care of others. So things like recognizing what is yours to carry and what's not. So we take a look at your circle of control and influence and concern to find out I'm really concerned about that person, but I actually can't control their outcome. I can control what I do. Like I
Mm.
can be there for your sessions. I can give you the resources that you need. Those are things that I can control. And a lot of times helping them to understand boundaries. What do boundaries look like? I love that I have this new one that's coming out that is around how to say no, where we literally are writing the scripts for how I say no, because I found that was hard for me to know how to say it. I have no problem with it now because the scripts are here in my head where I already know. I want to acknowledge them. I want them to know that, oh, thank you so much for asking me. Know that I'm honored that you asked me. I want them to know that because maybe later I'll be ready to do that, but my no is going to still stand, things like that. And boundary setting, mindfulness. I do a lot of mindfulness because I think that we really have to start recognizing the messages that our body sends to us. And I think that's that therapeutic part coming in that's saying you had a headache. Do you know why you had a headache? So I take them through really being present with their body and knowing what's happening in your body. When you start stressing, do you recognize it? When you start burning out, do you recognize it? So I teach them about burnout. And yeah, and there's other components to it, but I try to take them through that. But I do it in a way where I get them to understand themselves first and don't feel pressured to go fast, go at your pace. And yeah, I have to get to know my clients and learn what their pace is, and I help them to acknowledge and be okay with that, be at peace with that. Yeah.
Wow. Are you talking about all of this on your own YouTube channel? Because this is so good. And I know what you do, but you're
Yeah.
explaining it to me so clearly right now that I can imagine if I was in the helping profession,
Yeah.
that like you just said, like that you can't taking their problems home. Like what a load off of somebody
Yeah.
if you're able to free them from that, which means that they can go home and be present at home and
Mm-hmm.
feel good about the work that they're doing and not worry that they haven't taken care of something is
Right.
essentially what you're
Right.
saying.
Well, the great thing is that my amazing coaches, Debbie and Tai, gave me this wonderful thing this week. But that's why, again, I got so excited about how I can take each one of those because it literally has been scattered. But now I have such a clear understanding of how I can bring that. And then also watching you do it, how I can bring components of each one of those, especially when it's each one of the coaching sessions that I have, how I can just randomly go to one and say, this week I'm focusing on this. Monday, we're going to do awareness. Tuesday, we're going to do this. And I'm posting those. And I love doing playlists. So I have started doing that. And I started with the quieting the overthinking mind, because that's another thing that happens is that we overthink a lot of times. And there are reasons why we're doing it. And so that's where I started is with those videos where I have a playlist of the overthinking mind where I'm going through with brain bookmarks. And just so you know, one of the other coaches, and that's one of the things I love about your program also, is that we get to collaborate and we get to
Yeah.
talk. And I never knew what to name this thing that I would give to my clients. And one person said, how about brain bookmarks? And I went, oh,
Yeah, I remember
that's
that. Yeah.
amazing. I love that idea. And so now I have the playlist of brain bookmarks, things where get that off your mind when you go home because it's written down somewhere on your desk that this is where I'm going to pick up. I needed that for myself because I would start a playlist and then I would forget what was my next one going to be. And so I started doing this, using my brain bookmarks to make sure, yep, I've used them. I know how good they are. I know how they work now. Yeah, I don't know what the question was, but all I know is that my mind just came with that question. So much came because it's so much that I've learned and I've done because your program is definitely not about just knowing. It's about
That's
put
right.
it in action,
Doing.
do it. Yeah, yeah.
So you were talking about how people work with you. And I was asking
Mhm.
about that. But what else happens in the summer?
I'll just say when we're not in the summer, what I normally do is I do my Shifting into Peace program, which is helping the helping professional to learn for themselves how to make these shifts for themselves so that stress and burnout isn't becoming the major thing that's happening in their life. In the summertime, because I already know I can't do all this alone. So what I do in the summertime is I have my women's, and I call it outside the wall, is what I would call it because it's outside of your job that you're doing. Did you know that with all that knowledge and all that experience that you have, that you literally can start your side hustle or you can do one workshop? Because for me, what I didn't want is in the summertime, I didn't want to have to say, sure, I'll teach in the summer. I wanted to be able to say, I'm going to do my own thing in the summer and begin to build what I know I want when I retire. So in the summertime, what I do is, and I've done this now, this year will be my sixth cohort. Yeah, six or seven cohort. And what I do is that I have women who come and they learn how to offer either how to start coaching themselves and to take one topic, one thing that they love doing at their job, and let's build something from that. So, like for instance, if they're in human services and they love working with individuals who are in recovery, so I tell them, let's take one topic and let's make that into a workshop or course, whatever it is that you want, or your YouTube channel. And I show them how to take that wellness topic and expand it into something. Because a lot of times when we're doing the work, we think it comes easy and that all of that information could just be given to someone and they use it. And that's not going to happen. So what I do is I show them how to break it down into smaller pieces. That becomes either your workshop or your course, and that can spearhead your coaching because I never show them how to build a workshop or a course without the coaching piece. And so I teach them that. And literally, what I'm doing is I'm taking the techniques that we use in providing therapy and I'm showing individuals how to use that in their coaching business. I'm going to tell you now, I love my summers in working with women because I see them go from, yeah, this isn't going to work to, I am so excited about doing this. And I love long-term relationships. And so a lot of my clients come back and they'll offer like a session to the future coaches that are in my program and they'll show them, here's what I built. Here's what I've done since being in your program. Yeah, so I love that.
What a fun idea. Here's what I've done. Boy, maybe I should have
Yeah.
everybody come back and do that inside of our program too. That's
Yeah.
super exciting.
I'm number one on the list if that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, that's fantastic. What a
And
great idea.
and what I
So,
forgot to say is that they're getting certified at that point in my wellness and resilience program that I have, and they literally get to offer it themselves if that's the first thing they want to offer. So what many of them will do is they'll take one topic from it and that's what they'll expand on, but somehow and then go back to their jobs and they can even offer it as a training at their jobs. And I started doing that and now I see others are doing that same thing.
oh my goodness. Something's coming up. I don't remember which call it was where I was talking about, was it you that I was saying having all the materials prepared, like the slide decks and all that?
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, okay, okay,
Yep.
yeah. That's so many ideas and opportunities to even be able to support people even further.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how many people have you helped in that, would you say, program? And you said six or seven groups of
Yeah.
people. How many people do you think that is?
I know the first year I did 12, I limited it to 12 people. And then after that, I always said 20. So I always try to go anywhere between 20 and 30 people in it. But the coaching sessions, though, I try to keep them small. I want to say over the last 3 years, I've had to offer two different sessions, and one year was three, so that I can keep the coaching sessions small, like ours, which I really enjoy, where I'm able to address everyone's needs in that 90 minutes that we're meeting. And so I would say I've never had one group in the room that was bigger than probably 15 people at a time because I'll just create a second one. Yeah. And they will meet one after the other, 1 hour and a half, and then the next hour and a half. That way I'm staying on topic with whatever it is. And remember, I only want to work Monday through Wednesday. So,
Yeah, I love that. So,
yeah.
I mean, you have essentially probably had 100,
Yeah. It happened. Yeah.
people go, wow,
Yeah.
congratulations for that. That is
Yeah.
so
And I
fantastic.
have a Yeah, and I have about 20 of them who actually still I hear from them. We pop in a Zoom meeting every now and then just to say hi, things like that.
Well, it's good to stay connected for sure.
Yeah.
For anybody listening, we will leave all of Cheryl's information so that you can connect with her and you can find out if you are in the helping profession and you want to find out about how to get certified in her method as well. We definitely want to leave all those details because she is actually filling her summer group for summer 2026
Yeah.
right at this moment. Cheryl, as far as the business building boutique goes, what
Hmm.
would you say to somebody who's thinking like, I don't know, first of all, I don't even know if I have a good business idea. I don't know, do I need this? I know right now I feel like there's so many coaching programs, business coaching programs specifically, that they just don't deliver. They haven't done what they said they were going to do, and people have spent a lot of money and not gotten what they wanted, and there's just
Hmm.
a lot of resistance out there to even entertaining one more person to hire. So what would you
Right.
say to somebody who might be thinking and listening to this right now and thinking, maybe I want to be a coach?
I would say I know one thing. I'm going to start with where I started, which was me sitting down and thinking about what do I know? What do I know really well that I want to teach to someone else? Or what do people come to you for advice for? And I knew that people were coming to me when they were at their stressful moment. Because I remember starting off and me not even knowing what psychology was. And I'm going to joke and give you this joke. I joke a lot, which is that when I told my mom I was becoming a psychologist, she said, "Oh, my Lord, my daughter's becoming a psychic." And so even starting there with an understanding about what is coaching. And I think one of the first steps is just I had to explain to my mom what psychologist was, but really finding out what is coaching because there's so much out there that is you're like it's not telling us the actual truth of what it is because
Yeah.
so many people are out there who aren't doing coaching in the way that's ethical. And I think just like for me, I had to find out what is it actually and how does it differ from mental health or mental health work. And so I would say start there, but then and coming to find that person and like I did with you that I can go and sit down and listen to even while I'm in the program right now with you, when you come out with your YouTube or you do your workshop sessions, I'm there. And it's not because I haven't heard it in the program. It's
Yeah.
because I still want to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. So I love learning. So I want to learn more about it because maybe there's something I don't know that I don't know. And so I think it's about being in the environment of coaches and coaches who are doing it the way that you see ethically, it should be done. And I teach a class on ethics. And so when I step in with a coach, I'm looking for that because that's just something that I've learned to do. But I think knowing that if you're in the helping profession, I cannot think of one topic that would not be of interest to someone because they're coming to you for help for that already. That knowledge and that experience, it's yours. It doesn't belong to the organization, it's mine. So I can create something out of it. And so they may not think that people will listen to them, but so people are wanting, and especially right now, the climate we're in right now, people want that support. They want that information. They can find it on YouTube, of course, but wouldn't it be great to find someone who I feel I can trust and I can go and I can listen to them? I'll give an example. Monique does organizing. I started junk journaling, and here I am, this person who you may think have everything so organized. I love designing things, but when it comes to organizing, that's not my thing. And junk journaling is, and people are probably saying, what's junk journaling? But all the things that I get, I didn't know how to organize it. And so I would have this mess. I sat down with her for an hour and before you know it, I started seeing how I was able to organize my craft room. And so I always say, oh my gosh, that is amazing. She's just teaching us how to organize things, but it's not a jest because there's more to it. And so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
bigger than, and so there maybe have been a time that Monique thought that nobody wants to hear this, but then yeah, I'm hoping she got it from me as much as I compliment her, that no, you taught me so much. I enjoy my junk journaling now because I can organize things. I can find things. It's not stressing me out. So I think in the helping profession, we may not be thinking that this little thing that I offer to people that it's anything someone wants to hear. You won't know until you try it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not the most eloquent at mindset and coaching and all that kind of stuff, but I always say your primitive brain, the bratty brain, is the one who's telling you that what you have to say or what you think you want to do,
Yeah.
it's not anything that's good enough. It's
Yeah.
not anything anybody will pay you for. And I always say we have to overcome that obstacle because you're right. There literally is practically no niche that's not a viable niche. And I really appreciate what you said about being ethical, because that also is one thing that myself and Thais both, when I'm on a consultation call with somebody and they start talking about what their niche is, and they're like, I'm going to do trauma. What I'm like, okay, hold up, like big T trauma. No, if you are not qualified to do that, you cannot do that. And if you're also in the middle of, you're going to help around something that you're not all the way through. No, you can't do that either. You got to be, that's coaches, people are going wrong with, and that's what hurts. I mean, there's in every industry, there are things like that, but that's one of the things that gives coaches a bad name, is because people are not qualified to do some of the things that they think they want to do. So it's important to find the thing that you actually could and should do.
Even for me, me having the background in mental health work, even when I do my trauma trainings, I make sure in the beginning it's in writing, but I also will say it. I'll put it on the screen that I'm a doctor. I'm not your doctor. So make sure that you go and you talk with your doctor, and this information works alongside what your doctor is saying. Even for me, I put that disclaimer out there and make sure people understand, even with my students at the college. I'm not here to be your therapist. I am here to be your coach. Those are two different things, because I have a handout about it and I also have a video about it that lets them know this is what I do, is do the coaching. This is how ethical I am with it. I provide my therapeutic work all the way an hour away from where I do my coaching work. That's the extreme. But even with my students, I teach an hour away from where the clinic is, because I don't want there to be this confusion about what role I'm in. And if people bring it up or I see it come up, I'm great. I have 2 therapists that I connect with that I refer them to when I realize this person may need therapy, and I'll introduce it to them and I'll say, I can still work with you, but at the same time, let me give you a referral to 2 therapists that I'm connected with.
Okay, we've got so much to talk about, and I got to ask you another question that I think will be really valuable, because chances are there are therapists that are listening to this, and so it's going to be like therapists, counsel. I mean, there's lots of names of that type of profession. What would you say about a woman who is in that position? I say woman because I work with just women,
and that's
who's in that position, who is saying like, oh my goodness, like I can't stand the battle with insurance. I want to be able to help, but there's so many like restrictions around what I'm doing. And I want to have more flexibility with my hours. And I don't want to have somebody breathing down my neck. And could I pull this off? The lady that I talked to yesterday that just became a client, she was saying that in Maryland, the last time she had billing done by the hour, which has been in 2019, I think she said it was $380 cash pay per hour, and she made 60. And she was like, there's just, first of all, $380 cash pay. There's something wrong with that. So for somebody who is in this type of thing, what would you say about them being a coach? What is your thoughts about that? I think there's a question of respect. Maybe are people going to respect you as a coach being a former therapist?
Yeah. When we were in our graduate program, from the day we enter into it, you're hearing about how not to be a coach. But what I see even today is that many of the therapists or clinical psychologists are realizing that this one-to-one is not bringing in what I need. So like you said, the individual, after all of that, only got $60 out of it. What they're beginning to understand is that I can still do coaching, though. I can still have a group coaching program. I can do things like that. And that is my side business. And I think that's one of the things, is that confusion about what coaching is again, and understanding how there can be a division between the two. And I actually do work with 2 therapists right now who came in saying, I don't think that I can do this because I can't split them up. and me trying to help them to understand and to see. And because I have this little group when in the summertime, when the group comes in, if any of them are therapists, I actually meet with them separately to try to reduce the confusion that they have or the misunderstanding they have that I'll get in trouble with my licensing because I'm doing coaching. When actually, no, the licensure can't direct what you can do with the knowledge and the experience you have. You just have to make sure your clients understand. And I think that for them, it really is about meeting with someone who has an understanding of how you can split the two, separate mental health work from the coaching work that you're doing, and how you remain keeping those separations. I don't know if I answered your question, but I know
Yeah.
that's what, okay, I know that's
Yeah.
what came up in my mind is
Yeah.
I think that there's not enough people out there that understands, that's able to explain it to them. As I'm seeing, I don't know if it's growing for you or not, but I know that by being in the program, I'm seeing more and more of the therapists, and I get excited when I see them
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that they understand. And I have one that we talk often where we're looking at doing some things, some collaborations together, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
And I can see what growth can happen there. And I think it's just the mindset of understanding there's a separation, but someone has to be there to explain it to them so they see that there's this division between the two, and you actually can still create this other thing on the side. And for me, I will only work with a client who is a therapist after they've been out a few years, because I know how much we get in our mindset that, nope, coaching is back, don't do it. I don't work through that with them. What I work with is them saying, there's got to be something more I can do. Then I can step in and work on that and move them forward.
So good. Well, you're right. We have 4 therapists right now in our group, 4 therapists that I can think of right off the top of my head. And over the years, I mean, I've worked with a lot of therapists, but I've had probably more calls recently with people in therapy for the
Yeah.
same reason. They're just
Yeah.
tired of the restrictions and the limitations and all that.
Yeah.
As we wrap this up, what would you say has changed about you since you came to work with us?
Ooh, that's so many to pick from. Okay. One, I think the way that I present myself to the world, because I'm going to use this word, I hid behind WJ Developmental as the name.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hid behind not putting my face out there, pictures out there. It really was that I needed to hear that it's okay for you to do that. Or you have this amount of knowledge and you're hiding. Because I'm going to use the word hiding. You never said that, and Thais never said that, but I started saying, why am I hiding? I've gotten used to hearing my voice. I did that years ago, but I never got used to pulling up like my YouTube now. I'll see my face pop up and I don't cringe anymore at that, because I think I'm in an environment where I'm not only learning, but I'm watching and I'm seeing how you're doing it, how the other coaches are doing it, how they're putting their name out there, how they're putting their faces out there. And I realized I needed to do that. And so now I do post with my picture on things, well, just about everything now. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
use the name Dr. Cheryl Coaching.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to say has been the one of the biggest thing. And the second one, if it's okay for me to share with you,
Yeah, please.
is that I am very much a systems person. I have a group of books that are all about systems. I think I moved them in another place, but they're my go-to books around. And I'm looking over here at systemic coaching. I'm looking at a book that's behind me because systems is what I live. So family systems, because I work with groups, I work with families, especially in therapy. I love working with families. And those are all systems. So when I see something that looks and sounds like a system, that's going to grab me where I want to hear more. And so when I came in the program, I could see the different systems in place. I can see the order. It was like it made sense to me. I'm one of those people who, if you throw numbers out, they're doing this. But if you put those numbers in a system, then I see this. And then I can see how I can use it here. And in psychology, we call it generalizable, that I can see how that system is generalizable. I can use it in different ways. And you'll have to help me, but I know the personal branding and then business branding,
Yeah.
I began to see the system there. And then the next step around social media,
Mhm.
it connected me to there's a system there for how
Yeah.
I can do my social media. There's a system there how I can do my brochure and the information that goes in that brochure.
Yeah.
Because even with the website, it didn't take me long to put my website together again because of the system that you had in place
Right.
that here's where this goes and here's where your three, and you'll have to tell me the three
Three
things that you,
results.
yeah,
Yeah.
the three
Yeah.
results that
Uh-huh.
you're, oh my gosh, that made so much sense to me that things just within 2 weeks, things just came together. The only thing that slowed me down was, like we always say, the tech, but
Yeah.
I already
Yeah.
know with the tech, I reach out to the tech people who can do that and tell
Yeah.
me, how do I set this up? But seeing that system in place has really guided me into making these changes that I'm making right now. And I have to tell you that when I hit my 6 months, I started getting so nervous. I was like, I have something great going here, and the program's going to end for me. What do I do? And I just
You were
remember,
asking, like, I only have this much more time. And I was thinking in my mind, like, she should stay a little bit longer.
and
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could stay. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And then when you reminded me, I went, oh, she did tell me that
Yeah.
this is how I can stay on.
Yeah.
And here I am. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
still learning. I'm still on this journey, and the journey is just beautiful. And those are my two greatest takeaways so far. Yeah.
Well, you're just a delight because I love
Oh,
action takers and you take the action. And I love the awareness and feedback that you have and that you take the feedback. I mean, I remember when you told me what your company name was, I was like, oh no, nobody's going to know what that is. And it won't
yeah.
make sense to anybody else. You taken, and I said, you don't have to change your website because your website was already done, but those things evolve. You see, like, wait, my website doesn't make sense. I do need to
Right,
change it to what
right.
she says.
Yeah.
And you've been a great addition to the summit, just to
Oh, thank
everything,
you. Thank
everything that
you.
we have going on.
And Debbie, the most validating thing was to hear my girlfriend yesterday, just yesterday, say to me, I see what's happening and I'm loving what I'm seeing. And I want to know, who are you talking to that's helping you to do that? Which meant there's a change that has taken place. But also because I'm seeing, even though I started my YouTube in like 2020, I never really did anything with it. And even if I have 20 or 30 subscribers, that was 29 more than I had over the last 5 years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You
so
got to
yeah.
start somewhere, girl,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're grateful for every one of those that comes in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the way YouTube is
Mhm.
like you start slow and steady. And then the next thing you know, you're like, whoa, like
Yeah.
somehow it's really working. And it's
Yeah.
not somehow, it's that you did it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I see the changes myself, not only in people's voices, but also as I look on when I go online and I look, or the coaching calls that I have right now with some of my clients and just hearing them. What you're doing, I want to say, is you're making my life so much smoother, but it also is illuminating what I want to do and helping me to be able to put it out there. Because right now, I have a new way of doing things. And even though right now I'm rewiring it right
Yeah.
now. Even though I'm rewiring it, it's like I'm looking at my own onboarding. Next week, I'm focusing on my onboarding. It looks different now because I've seen how you do your onboarding, and I now see what I'm missing in mine and what I need to add in. So there's just so much. And I love talking to you that whenever our coaching calls in, I'm like, is she about to say something else? Or Thais? No, this journey has really been, I know I've been highlighting what you and Thais have been giving me, but I feel I need to because it is a new phase in my coaching journey, in my business journey, my entrepreneurship journey. And I see it very loud and clear. And I have to say thank you for that. Yeah.
Oh, you're so welcome. What a joy. If you are a helping professional, I'm going to leave all of Cheryl's information below and you need some support. And I am pretty sure you do need some support. We know what helping professionals are. They have a lot on their plate. That's why they
Yeah.
need you. I'll make sure I leave those details there so you can connect with Cheryl. And Cheryl, thank you for passing on my name to your friend and to your sister, your sweet
Yeah.
sister, and to anyone else. So I greatly appreciate you too. And what a fun conversation we had.
Yeah. And I just want to invite people to come sit on the porch with me, even though it's a
Yes.
Zoom call, come sit on the porch
Yes.
and talk with me. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. You can tell you're from the South, girl. That's it.
Yes, I am.
All right, everybody. Have a beautiful day, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye.